Welcome back to Unsolved Mysteries.
Dun, dun, dun.
No,
Sorry,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But tonight's episode, we will be talking about something that's been on everybody's mind lately, and that is there a serial killer stalking New England? Now, this topic has been getting a ton of attention over the last few weeks. Everywhere. We've seen all sorts of stuff.
Literally.
Yeah, social media. People are in a frenzy. We have news outlets kind of reporting different narratives, which may or may not be accurate or overblown.
Yeah.
Police are generally not commenting much. It isn't, it's easy to say, it's easy to draw a conspiracy from the police not commenting, but honestly, I think a lot of the times it's just they're under an active in the middle of an active investigation, and they can only say so much. So,
Mhm.
with the caveat that there's definitely been some cover ups and some foul play, with this sort of thing, in the past.
Oh, it has happened.
Yes, it's definitely
For sure.
happened.
For sure. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, for real. Yeah.
So,
However,
just seeing both sides.
right. So what exactly are we dealing with here?
Well, there's been, I believe, seven bodies altogether. And when I say bodies, what's interesting is a couple of those were named as remains, human remains,
Uh,
which is just interesting to hear. I haven't dug into this too deep, but I believe there was one in Foster, Rhode Island. There was a couple in Massachusetts, Framingham, and Plymouth, respectively. And then we had four in Connecticut.
well, so the thing with this is that this is since the beginning of March of 2025.
Yeah, so we're looking at a month and a half or so.
Right. So it's what is it? August. It's August, April 19th,
April 19th.
2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not even 2 months. So and people are kind of I
Technically,
think
it's going to be April 20th in 8 minutes, but
oh snap. Well, you know what they say about April 20th.
Snoop Dogg
So
Day or something.
I think the biggest ones like that, like there was one set of remains found in Foster, Rhode Island, and then there was another found in Killingly, Connecticut, which is not far from Foster. The first thing, the first one of this, I mean, okay, let's just maybe I'll get to that later. That there's always tons of unsolved cases. Maybe I'll just talk about that later in the episode. For now, we'll just start with a skull was found off the woods or in the woods off Route 3 in Plymouth, Mass. Um, Human remains were discovered in a suitcase near a cemetery in Groton, Connecticut. The body of Denise Leary, 59, was found by a homeowner clearing brush. I believe she was found in New Haven. Michelle Romano, 56, who has been missing since August of 2024, was found in Foster, end of March. And uh, in Killingly, Connecticut, April 9th, more remains turned up in Killingly. One of these, I don't like. I'm going to say this because it's listed as one of the bodies found, and I'm just going to say this. Paige Fannin, 35, of West, and this was also, I think, it looks like on March 6th, of West Islip, New York, was found dead in the Norwalk River, Connecticut, after being swept away by heavy rain. We're just going to put a pin in that real quick. But so there's been, and surrounding that, I believe there were some found in New Hampshire. Whether they were bodies or skeletal remains, I'm unclear. I'll be honest that I haven't dug very far into this currently. Like I'm just not up on exactly all the details. I know that there's several, but I haven't like dug deep or anything. I'm just kind of like constantly being barraged. What's the word? Barraged. Like I don't know the right word
Rated
on
or rated?
berated.
It's a
Barrage.
barrage, but
It's
they're
a
being
barrage of constantly
right.
this is in the news. Now, I'm in a lot of groups. I'm in a lot of, I follow a lot of pages. I follow certain news things. So this stuff comes up for me anyway, but like this is like all I'm seeing. And it's, on YouTube, like I don't know if that's the same experience for you. Is it?
Yeah, I see groups, I see people talking about stuff, but it's been kind of surface level for me. I can
Right.
kind of give you an overview of what's being talked about, but yeah, I'm not like, oh well, the bullet casing was found in such a way to suggest that it was fired from a
Right, right.
easterly trajectory.
Right.
you know, I'm just kind of like,
Uh,
oh, there's been talk there's been a number of murders, or at least bodies and remains found, which
right.
doesn't indicate a serial killer, let alone a homicide necessarily. But
Well, that's the thing. Like, wait, first, let's head on over to. So, if you hadn't heard, because this group is kind of what seems to have pushed a lot of the chatter.
what's the name of
Um,
the group?
actually,
Oh
the
no,
gr- the group title's pending, so we don't know the name right now. There's this group on Facebook. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on TikTok too, and I am not on TikTok. I'm not part of TikTok. I think TikTok is it's not of my time. Anyways, so I just want to go through this.
of a different time.
Seriously, like those are like what is it? Gen Zs and shit on TikTok. It's a different if it's a different generation, I'm not with it, right? Um
I
all
hear
right.
you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So in this group there's been tons of posts, but I'm just going to focus on this one. It's a post by Boston 25 News. New England bodies located, and it shows there's a map. So we've got Plymouth, Framingham, Foster, Killingly, Groton, New Haven, Norwalk, and a little a subtitle that says the idea that a serial killer could be on the prowl in New England is getting more popular. So I just want to go through some comments. Oh my gosh,
Comment.
bear with me because like for some reason I'm having trouble like with um having all my stuff together and like in one place. So I have to go over to Boston 25 News. God knows when they actually posted that. So
Get
it's
it
going to take me.
together.
I'm sorry. Get it together. I'm sorry. It was very bad intelligence. All right. So this was 11 hours ago that they posted this. So this again, Boston 25 News, and there's 2.2 thousand comments and like 5,000 shares. So, all comments. Okay. Here's a good one. What about all the bodies in Boston? The men that mysteriously leave bars and then end up in the Charles River or the Boston Harbor. Good point.
Yeah,
All the more
never hear about
reason. Oh, I'm constantly seeing that, like bodies being pulled out of the Charles and also, I believe, the Merrimack River, Boston Harbor, like that whole area. That's out of the scope of this episode, but
Yeah, it was the smiley face murders.
fuck, yeah, I guess so. I personally don't know anything about like those details either, um, but I wanna read through the comments and then talk about that because these comments do come up with a lot of things like that, right? So, um, all the more reason to get yourself a firearm. Killingly just sounds like a place for serial killers.
Killing.
Original. Or you're killing it, man. 2 in Framingham in the past month. In today's surveillance state, you would think that this would have been solved by now. There are cameras everywhere. I mean, true. Someone says it was Karen Reed. Um,
This fucking
Hmm.
character. Shut up.
No shit. Like, did you watch the trial? All right. Now, what about the Merrimack River Killer 2, or the dude dumping bodies in Boston, or the guy in South Maine? Looks like a trucker's route to me. A body was just found in the Providence River, too. How many years have we been saying this now? Weren't we told we were going overboard? No pun intended, I guess.
What's that all about?
Because here's the thing: is that there's also always bodies being pulled out of the dam. Like I said, the harbor and those rivers. So people are like, what the hell? We've been saying something about this because it's again not something I've dived into. Okay, could it be two different killers because somebody has been killing dudes and dumping in the river in Boston? Could the person have switched MO to throw off their scent? I'm weird. I truly think about this stuff. Oh, so they're thinking it's like the same person. Someone else says it's a truck driver. Someone else says, can we at least find out where they buried Jimmy Hoffa first? Someone tell me when the Dateline episode will be out. Maine South Woodsman on the prowl again. Not good New England. Somebody else says, looks like the New Bedford highway killer is back in town. More talk about pulling bodies out of the river, out of the water. The Boston bars.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look near the dock in Providence. No, look the other way. I don't know what that's about, but there must be something going on there.
There's probably a million bodies buried there.
Yeah, no shit.
Or floating.
The I-95 killer is back.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Wait, what'd you say?
Sunk. I said floating. There's probably a million bodies submerged.
Submerged. Like concrete shoe style, you mean?
Cement shoes.
Cement shoes. That's see.
Johnny Tight Lips.
Looks like these guys are from Providence. All right. Okay, somebody else says, wow, the cops literally say no connections and no foul play in some of these, and that it's getting out of hand on social media, and then you go and add to the hysteria, LOL. No kidding. Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, is that you? These guys. This is Boston. Well, the parole board keeps letting out killers, so maybe it's one of the ones they let out. I mean, there's that. There's that. We just had a.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point, though. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, and actually, probably something we could totally effing talk about. Not today, but like, let me write that down because literally this happens constantly. I don't know about the other New England states, but this literally happens constantly in Vermont. Constantly. I just read a headline the other day that somebody was let out after he was in jail for a time, an unexpected plea deal, whatever, after involuntary manslaughter or voluntary manslaughter, I think. There was a woman who I'm unsure. I haven't followed it because it's actually really difficult to talk about. But she killed somebody in a like a shelter. She killed one of the shelter workers or social workers, I forget exactly, with a hatchet or an axe. It's all on camera, and then like pleaded insanity. And I think she's in like a home or something. I'm not sure, but it's like this happens all the time in Vermont. So that's actually a very interesting comment.
A lot of similar things in Massachusetts.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I'm not sure how it is in the other states, but it's definitely something we could talk about because it's definitely a thing here. So moving on. Actually, a good amount of comments on here about all the men in the Charles River. I know there's been a lot in the Merrimack River too. Somebody says, sounds like a Netflix series already greenlit, right?
Yeah.
LOL, he wouldn't dare come to Boston.
This is real life, though. I mean, we're being lighthearted about it, but this is.
Oh, I'm talking about the comments.
Yeah.
I'm actually being, bagging on the response, some of the response I've seen, because what's interesting. So like this is I just these are some of the comments people are talking about. Lots of comments about the Charles River, the Mystic River, Merrimack, Smiley Face Killer. Um, uh, People bagging on the name Killingly. Is there really a town called Killingly? Yes, actually there is. Killingly, Connecticut. It's not far over the border. It's actually very close to Foster. Um, oh, y'all. Someone just put a confession in the A group. That is on Facebook. Um, People encouraging others to carry. Second Amendment.
Hmm.
There's actually all these jokes about cereal, and it took me the longest time to understand why. And now I get it. He's got Captain Crunch. Someone else talked about Cocoa Puffs. I'm like, why are they talking about cereal? Oh, serial killer.
Gosh, come on.
No, I'm not even kidding you. It took me so long to realize what they were talking about.
No, come on.
Yeah. So what's
Yeah,
what I go
I
ahead.
noticed. Well, yeah, like you were saying, I'm in a number of groups and whatnot, and what I noticed over the past week or so was everybody's like, I saw this guy staring at me, and he's looked so intense when I was pumping gas. I think I know who the killer is. Like all of
Right,
these sorts
right,
of comments are popping up, yeah, everywhere. And
right. Yeah,
in the midst of this, there's I hate to say it, but there's some entertainment value, and I'm really focusing more on that than the actual case. I suppose we're talking about the buzz. I
yeah,
think
yeah. Right, right. Oh God, yeah. Like I would never make fun of like an actual death or that's not what we're doing here. But there's definitely some value in like what happens on the damn internet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so what's also coming out in all these comments is like people mentioning other things. The New Bedford highway killing gets mentioned. Um, be vigilant, be aware of your surroundings. Charles River, I mean,
yeah.
and then there's the comments just show how stupid people truly are, and I think my thing and I will talk about this till the cows come home, how people just hop on something without knowing anything about it. So like here's the thing.
Mhm.
First of all, there's a few points that just pop into mind whenever something like this happens. And I remember somebody posting in a very local group recently and said, "Is it possible there's a serial killer?" I'm like, "Listen, I don't want to say like late to the party, but you are. You know what I mean? Like you're late to the party here because do you have any idea how many unsolved cases there are, missing, murdered, and unsolved cases in New England? In Connecticut alone, it's actually nuts. I remember one time years ago, I look 'cause all you have to do is just go to the darn Connecticut, just put in Connecticut unsolved cases or any state's unsolved cases, and you'll come up with the government site of all of the missing, the unidentified remains, like whatever. You'll have the list, and it's I can't think of the word flabbergasting, and especially like New Hampshire. I mean, they're everywhere actually. You know what I'm saying? There's missing people. There's differences because missing people aren't they're still missing. They're not actually found yet. So there's that. But then there's the unsolved homicides. And so there are so many unsolved homicides in New England. It's outrageous. And they go back. I mean, there's several that look like they could be the same person. There's several. I mean, just look it up for yourself. So like this is already happening. That's the thing. Like there's already people who don't know about the Connecticut River Valley serial killer and the New Bedford highway killer, and we just learned about one in Florida. um I don't remember all the details. My husband was telling me about it, and I'm just like, holy fuck, I had no idea about this one. I think there was one in Connecticut that I had never heard of. So like there's so many already. Like it's not like this is new. Like there's bodies all the and that's the next thing, is that just because a body was found, like I'm going to take us back to the headline that said the woman who got swept away by heavy rain. and her body was found in the river. Okay, so found dead in the Norwalk River in Connecticut. She wasn't killed by a serial killer. She was swept away by rain, I guess, because there's a lot of rain, heavy rain. The
Yeah,
rivers
and
swell. They become very dangerous.
there's plenty of freak deaths that happen
Right.
on a regular basis.
Exactly. So like, there's that, and I don't even know why that's listed except to say like clearly not a serial killer. You know what I'm saying? Like clearly not. I read that and was like, what the like what is even happening here? Like, so that's the other thing is just because remains were found doesn't mean it was even suspicious or even murder or let alone a serial killer. So I think we got to kind of keep these things in mind, and like we have no idea. And one thing, a couple things have stuck out to me. Um, one is the sister, I believe it's the sister of one of these women, is actually, I don't want to say begging, but imploring people to stop talking about her sister as if she's the victim of a serial killer. And
Yeah, of course you don't want that
where
sort of attention.
what's that?
Of course you don't want that sort of attention.
No, I can tell you like exactly what she said. Again, I gotta
And
find it.
to be fair, at the moment, whatever this turns out to be, law enforcement and these respective towns are saying that they don't have any evidence of a serial killer. It's what they're
Right.
saying, true or not. That's that's the narrative.
Well, we have Groton Police. I'll read you the Groton Police statement. Actually, I'm gonna read it because we'll just read it.
Yeah,
This is Groton, Connecticut, where I believe Groton was the one, the cemetery. Human remains, March 19th. Human remains were discovered in a suitcase near a cemetery in Groton. Okay, now that. Uh,
all right. So I'm just doing some googling, by the way, just a sidebar. So
yeah.
1,777 unsolved murders in Connecticut,
Mm.
ranging from 1980 to about 2019. That's Rhode Island.
Oh, do you remember? I think Massachusetts is like 5,000 because we did that for one of our shorts in October. Remember? I think Massachusetts is like 5,000 unsolved homicides in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Massachusetts is like this big. That's a lot.
Well, it's populations, I think, north of 7 million.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we have Boston and
Densely populated. Yeah, some urban areas. There's a couple of not so good areas.
Connecticut has a lot of urban areas too, like Hartford. My God, we have this joke about Hartford that like I hate Hartford. I hate Hartford. Yeah, Connecticut has some fun cities there.
Yeah,
So the town of
like I was going to get stabbed last time I went there.
what did you say? You did feel like
In Hartford?
in Hartford?
Yeah.
God, no,
It's got a vibe. It's got a vibe.
it does. Hartford is Hartford. Like I remember driving through. I think I've only ever been to Hartford at night. I don't think I've ever been there in the daytime.
Oh yeah, that's your
So
first
that's probably why. And I just like I avoid Hartford. I just don't like it. There's some places I just don't like, and that's definitely one of them. Like Albany, New York is another one. I just don't like it. Like I don't know, just Hartford. All right, so Town of Groton Police Department. The Town of Groton Police Department is aware. This was from April 6th. Is aware of several social media posts that have raised concern within our community. We would like to share the following information to help clarify the situation and address those concerns. Our detectives continue their efforts to locate Stephen Joseph Gush. Extensive researches along Route 184 have been conducted using our drone unit, search and rescue canine teams, and divers from the Connecticut State Police. Their assistance has been invaluable in covering areas with limited accessibility and eliminating certain locations from focus, allowing our detectives to concentrate on other leads. We have remained in close and consistent contact with Mr. Gush's family. We have also organized independent search efforts. We remain hopeful that our ongoing investigation will lead to positive developments. We are also aware of a report of a suspicious male observed at Bluff Point State Park last week. We are working in coordination with the Connecticut Environmental Conservation Police, who have primary jurisdiction over this matter. They have been in contact with the reporting party, and our department will continue to support as needed. Support their investigation as needed. Regarding references circulating on social media about incidents in the state of Rhode Island, we currently have no information connecting those events to any of the incidents in Groton. While we understand the concern, it is important to note that many of the claims on social media are speculative. We encourage residents to refer to verified local news sources for factual reporting on these matters. While we have no evidence at this time linking these incidents, we always urge the public to remain vigilant and aware of their surroundings. If you observe suspicious activity and witness a crime, please report it to the appropriate local authorities. In the event of an emergency, call 911. If you have any information that may assist in locating Stephen Joseph Gush, please contact us at 860-441-6712. We appreciate your continued concern and hope this update provides clarity and reassurance. Now, as far as Foster, Foster has actually asked if there was anyone who had information or video surveillance of the area where Michelle Romano went missing. However, Michelle Romano's family or somebody from the family has said, I'm going to kind of paraphrase because I don't want to use the name and kind of keep this low key, but this family member has strenuously objected to the use of her sister, her death being lumped in with, or like called a victim of a serial killer. She's insisting that Michelle's death is not the result of a serial killer. They find it disrespectful, and it's interrupting the grieving process, and so they're saying that she's absolutely not involved. They know she's not the victim of a serial killer. The Rhode Island State Police is working with the family. And how tragic and horrendous it is to find that her sister has died and to be put through this outrageous narrative by people who think they're armchair detectives. Again, I am paraphrasing that because just those are two posts that have been made, and that the truth will come out. But the biggest thing is our family is trying to grieve and process the inconceivable and horrendous loss of our beloved Michelle, and that this is like just bringing everything back up and kind of like putting it in the wrong light and just like messing with their grieving process, and I think that to take it a little more serious right now, this is where I have a problem, is when people get together, and for God's sake, like in the group, somebody has, quote unquote, put up a confession, and it talks about it, not to these current cases since that we just mentioned, but 6 new ones. And I've seen this before in what was his name? Actually, this is a constant problem in the Maura Murray case. But there was a person who, I don't know if he admitted, what did he do? There was a person who, and Maura Murray's case is a little bit older, so it was more in the beginning of the internet. Now we're like much more seasoned with the internet than we were. I mean, gosh, that was
Right.
Was that 19 years ago?
2004, yeah.
2004. Holy shit. So it's 21 years ago. Wow, damn. But there was a person, and for the life of me, I cannot remember his name. Who, and I don't know that he confessed, but he did something like he did something very shady that made him look very guilty, and but he wasn't. And like this happens, when these things come up, and again, something we could deep dive into about people confessing to things that they didn't do, just for the, I don't know, the fame of it. But
Are you
then
talking about
also,
Israel Keys?
no, no,
Yeah.
it's somebody very specific related to the online community with the Maura Murray case. If you don't know, Maura Murray is a young woman who went missing from northern New Hampshire in 2004, and she's still not found. But her case is an absolute crazy. Some of the stuff surrounding that online is absolutely nuts. So what's going on? But we've seen a lot come out with in the online community with her case. Now, as this is happening, you can kind of like, now we're in, 2025, and you're seeing people throwing in confessions into the group, whether they're messing around or they're serious, I don't know, but like you see this kind of behavior start to come up. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where people are just like saying shit for no damn reason, or like it's like, is there actually like it's like, is this fear for attention? Do you know what I mean?
And it likely is, but you always have to be open to the possibility that something like that is legitimate, and
Right.
it's somebody actually putting themselves out there because they want to be, they want to be recognized, they want to be seen or something.
Well, I would think, like, specifically with that in the group, that somebody has reported it to law enforcement. That would be my assumption.
I would hope.
Oh, somebody had to, because like I know, like the original group had like 62,000 members, and then there's a backup group which I don't remember where it was posted. That one has like it's less now, but I think 10,000. So I'm assuming the admin who knows, because admins can see, even if you post anonymously, they can see who you actually are. There's no secrets there if you're an admin. I imagine that they have reported it. But it's just crazy to me, like how this just, it's like, I remember years ago, um, a friend's cousin died, and she was young. She was a teenager, and she died tragically. But everybody came out of the woodwork, like pretending they knew her when they didn't, or pretending like they had some. I've actually seen this happen more than one time. Pretending they had some sort of stake in the family, or like they were best friends, or do you know what I mean? Like when someone dies, people start to act like they have more attachment than they actually do. Do you know what I'm talking? Have you ever seen this?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, this is weird. This is strange. I don't know what the term for it is, but
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but you know what I'm talking about then.
and especially, I mean, especially with the, I guess anonymity is not the best word, but like the lack of consequence with social media, where
Mm,
like you can just kind of write whatever and just move on with your life, and then it stirs up a controversy, and you're not even there anymore. It's just your words, or
right,
it's just been the words that you typed while you
right, exactly.
while you were just mad and fucking spouting
Well,
on the internet.
I think, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like it's keyboard warriors are like it's a thing, but it actually, it's interesting that we're watching this happen right now, while we're also like kind of covering, we don't have all our episodes out, but like we've begun our series on the Connecticut River Valley murders from the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
And at the time, very specifically when ugh, there's so much. Very specifically during with Kathy Milliken's murder, they talk a lot about it. The place was overrun. The small town overrun, and of course at the time there's no internet. They don't. There's no stuff. This is 1978, so there's talk, and there's telephone, and there's newspaper, right? Um, and the place was just overrun with rumors. Like it mentions it in newspaper articles, and like you can. I've even read a few things about what people thought happened, and people were very on edge, not knowing what had happened or who did it, or the person was never caught. So it's like you can kind of see, I don't know, that's kind of like an embryo to what's going on now. But now we have the internet, and social media is like, it's like a blessing and a curse, right? In my opinion. So then move forward to, in the way, this is a thing that bothers me too. We covered the Joanne Dunham murder in in our most recent episode that has not come out yet, but and her murder, this is a murder of a child, a 15-year-old girl in 1968 in New Hampshire. And it's, newspapers refer to it as the masking tape murder, and it just, there's another one again is referred to in 1975 as the whiskey bottle murder. Like, this is like some sort of um I don't know the word, like it's a Hollywood movie or something. It's just kind of, I think I've mentioned this before in our Dudleytown episode about how newspapers talk and how the media talks. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like it's sensational, and
Well, the article you mentioned at the beginning, I think it's a good example because they're like, oh, it's these beach towns that are being targeted. These blah blah
oh
blah.
yeah,
Like, what are you talking about? Like, most of these weren't even beach towns. Right? It doesn't even fit the
right,
what's actually going on. It's a headline. It just
right.
captures the attention. It's just
And that was
and
people.com.
then people read that and they get stirred up into a frenzy, and it's not even based on what's actually happening. They have so
Right. Exactly.
yeah, it
And
creates
that,
this very weird thing.
and I don't want to speak for anybody at all, but in relation to this sensationalizing, so people.com, they have that, and the headline is actually "Dead Women Are Turning Up in New England Beach Towns. Police deny a pattern, but locals fear serial killer." First of all, places like I mean, have you been to Groton? Foster and Killington and Danielson area, like, those are not, and even Framingham. I mean, it's very sensationalized title. And
Plymouth is on the water. I don't even know if
Ply-
is it a beach town at that.
I mean, I've been to the Plymouth beach. Well, I don't know if that's what it's called. Right downtown, there's like some rocks with seaweed. I mean, again, I'm not dogging Plymouth at all. I actually really like Plymouth. But it's
Yeah,
just, I'm dogging the headline is more of where I'm going with this. But also, like, you have this one woman's family like begging people to stop talking about this, and you've got like another one who was swept away by a river
hmm
in the rain. Like, and then I'm not saying remains have not showed up, because they have, but then I hear a interview, and I'm hesitant to like come out with names, because these aren't people that I know personally, and it's just something that I saw. But I saw an interview with a woman who survived an attack from the alleged Connecticut River Valley serial murderer in 1988. And the woman who interviewed her is a very, I'm gonna say, famous. I guess she's a crime reporter, and it was very clear to me that she has this victim of violent crime on her show, and doesn't clearly, or at least didn't act like she had done any research. I mean, even 5 minutes of research, she could have learned enough to, at least, it looked very much to me like she just had her on the show for the headline's sake. That is my opinion of what I saw in this, just a couple minutes of interview, and it was really disheartening. It's like, that, and maybe I'm wrong, but this was what my takeaway was. Um,
So what did the victim herself have to say?
I mean, basically, her message was that it's bizarre that this is happening, and um, that people should stay vigilant. That is, basically what she said. And um, her daughter kept her alive, and because she was pregnant during the attack. And I just felt, I don't know. I feel like the reporter could have done more. It seemed insensitive to me to a point.
Yeah,
Like, well, let me talk to this woman because she's the survivor of an alleged serial killer, and um just hadn't done, I don't know. There seemed to be, I'm looking for the words. Maybe not a lot of care put into going into the interview. Maybe I'm
no,
wrong, but it tied into, to me, it tied into the sensationalism of the whole thing, and I felt very bad. And then I read, so another thing that's come up a lot with this is the New Bedford Highway murders, which, if you don't know, was a series. I think it's 9 women. One or two, I forget. Again, I don't have all the info in front of me, but one or two of them were never found. But in the late 80s and 90s, it was a series of women who were murdered in the New Bedford. I want to get it in front of me. In the New Bedford, like New Bedford, Dartmouth. Oh, I think it was New Bedford, Dartmouth area. There is a book. So this particular Facebook group, it's a public group. It's called Shallow Graves: The Hunt for the New Bedford Highway Serial Killer. And there is a book that I actually have on my nightstand that is on my list of freaking reading. It's called Shallow Graves, and oh, her name is Maureen. Hold on, let me get I yes, the book. Hold on, I just want to make sure I have her proper name. Maureen Boyle. So, in the 80s, she was like I believe she was a reporter covering it when it was happening, and then she went on to write a book. Um, and I've seen a good amount of interviews with her about this book, and it's wicked interesting. But um, actually, here, I'll just read this to you. It's the description of the book. 11 women went missing over the spring and summer of 1988 in New Bedford, Massachusetts, an old fishing port known as the Whaling City, where Moby Dick, Frederick Douglass, textile mills, and heroin dealing represents just a few of the many threads in the community's diverse fabric. In Shallow Graves, investigative reporter Maureen Boyle tells the story of a case that has haunted New England for 30 years. The crimes, the skeletal remains of 9 of the women aged 19 to 36, were discovered near highways around New Bedford. Some had clearly been strangled, others were so badly decomposed that police were left to guess how they died. The victims, all the missing women, had led troubled lives of drug addiction, prostitution, and domestic violence, um, including Nancy Paiva, whose sister was a hardworking employee of the city of New Bedford, and Deborah Greenlaw Mello, who came from a solidly middle-class family but fell into drug and abusive relationships. In a bizarre twist, Paiva's clothes were found near DeMello's body. So that's like the backdrop of it. So there's a Facebook group,
very
and
chilling,
yeah,
very disturbing, especially that was ever found. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. Continue what you were going to say.
yeah. So one thing I want to read this post that this really struck me. This is from 2 days ago, and it's an admin of the group. His name is Wayne, and he's the sister, or I'm sorry, the brother of one of the victims. So one of the victims is his sister. He says, I want to let everyone know that I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do for the while on the page. I was rushed by ambulance this past Monday to the main medical center in Biddeford, Maine with congestive heart failure. I was told that I'm lucky to be alive, I never realized how much of a toll that the highway murders have taken on my life, but I made my sister a promise after she was killed that I would never give up, and I'm still going to do that. Do what I can to keep that promise to her. All I ask is for everyone to get along and respect each other's opinions. Hopefully, someday, by all of us working together, we may find the answers that we have all been looking for. God bless you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you continue to do. Thanks again, Wayne. This post, so these things that, like, and this is why I think, and I can understand how damaging this can be to a family
Mm.
that, I mean, he says, I never realized how much of a toll the highway murders have taken on my life. So when you go through something like tragic or huge or awful or whatever thing of significance you might go through, it can literally lodge in your body forever. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go through such trauma and you don't, it's not processed or it's so big or whatever the reasoning is, it can literally make you sick and hurt. And to hear someone say this, I never realized how much of a toll that the highway murders have taken on my life. He's trying to find the killer of his sister. Do you know, like, and
Yeah.
I don't think as we're doing all this sensational crap, I don't think we're thinking about stuff like this. You know what I'm saying? Like the keyboard warriors and all even the news, and don't even get me started on the news, okay? Like, uh, the media, don't even get me started about reporting and being moral in reporting. But
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, goodness gracious. Um, it's just so this is it. You know what I'm saying? Like this is so real. Like I can't think of any other words. It just this post really freaking moved me. Like I've been in this group for a little while, and admittedly I haven't my husband actually knows more about the New Bedford Highway murders than I do. And it's definitely on the list to learn more about because a lot of people don't, as I'm reading these comments and people are talking about the New Bedford Highway serial murders, some people are chiming in like, what are you talking about? When, where, what? I didn't know anything about this. Same thing with the Connecticut River Valley serial killer serial murders. And um the interesting thing is that we have in New England so many unsolved. I haven't even explored Maine, but
Yeah, I just looked it up, and New England currently we're looking at about 6,500 unsolved homicides. And there's at least, like we talked about, that, like, the Connecticut River Valley murders, the Bedford Highway murders, and you know, but potentially what's going on now. And then I believe there was another series of murders along the highways in Connecticut at some point. So there's definitely a few
oh,
of
there's a crap ton.
there that where there's a pattern.
Yeah. Oh, there definitely is. And
And
that's
then
the thing. It's like, where were you like the past 20 years? Like, where were you in your keyboard crap like the past 50 years? Like, again, not saying there aren't people. I'm not talking about the people who are, reasonable and respectful.
of course,
That's not what I mean. But and the thing that Wayne also says is hopefully someday by all of us working together we may find the answers. And because I've watched a lot of cases online and there's different communities, right? Um because I've seen so much of that and I see how much uh conflict there is between people because you have differing theories or whatever. And the crazy thing is that so much of this armchair detective stuff is useless because again there's things we don't know. And
yeah,
i
for sure.
i I actually heard a quote earlier that I found fascinating and funny because we were doing this. and it's the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them knows anything about the subject. And apparently that's from Marcus Aurelius. Friend of mine posted that on Facebook, and I was just like, no kidding. Like, we aren't all working together, and maybe if we could be without the egos or the drama or the when something happens, you get all on the sensationalized bandwagon. If we weren't doing that, could we have already solved half of this shit? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. I don't fucking know, dude. Like, it's exhausting, and I'm just sitting here like it's coming across my screen every day. I'm not even in it, and I've been in situations not like this. Um, for the grace of for the grace of God, there goes I. But um, I'm not even in any of these situations, and I've had situations on the internet where things are just completely misrepresented. You know, and it's awfully discouraging. And if you're trying to, I don't know, if there's like an investigation or if there's an actual serious situation happening, um, I can't imagine how frustrating that must be and damaging.
No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah.
But and for family members and whatnot who have lost loved ones, it's tough to see people act,
Right.
act so crazy about situations that aren't even actually personal to them.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. You kind of lose. You forget that. And this is a thing I realize with ghost hunting. Is that this whole like phenomenon or novelty of I thought this actually I really saw this in Gettysburg because I saw this video once of I guess there's a bridge in what's it called, the Sachs covered bridge, I think. And there's a tour that goes down there, and there's a woman who puts a cigarette on the railing, and they try to get the ghost of, I think his they call him Tennessee. He has a name, I forget what they call him, but they're like putting the cigarette down like it's a fucking circus sideshow. Like, come on, Tennessee, let's move the cigarette. You want a cigarette, huh? Like, what? Right.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's assume we're talking to an actual real ghost who was a person at one time who died in the bloodiest battle of like America, like at Gettysburg. And it's a fucking joke to you, like what? I really in that video, it was a video that I saw on YouTube, because I'm very invested in Gettysburg. But it just made me think like I think we often forget that this isn't a joke. This is these were real people with real families and lives and etc. And fathers, sons, brothers, kids, what the whole nine, and they died. This isn't a fucking this isn't fiction. Do you know what I mean? So
I know what you mean.
I get it. All right. So closing thoughts. What are your closing thoughts?
My thoughts. I mean, I don't know. It's just how does it change how you live your life? You know
Right.
what like because the lens I'm seeing it through is just like this mass hysteria, and it's almost like comical. Um,
But it doesn't feel like real
but
hysteria.
in reality as well, so it's yeah, it doesn't feel like an actual hysteria, but at the same time, these things are happening. Like these some of these cases at least were likely homicides. We have a history of killers that killed multiple people, serial killers. We have 6,500 unsolved homicides in the area. We have some of the most, you know, prolific serial killers coming out of this area.
No shit, right?
Ted Bundy, H.
God.
Holmes. Um,
Oh God, H. Holmes, what the fuck? Yeah, no shit.
yeah, for real, for real.
Well,
Um,
and it does happen here. I mean, legit. So I mean, it's absolutely happening. But I keep thinking of a lot of people are talking about being armed and defending yourself and those kinds of things. This is why I carry. And now I am not opposed, okay, in theory, but there are so many ways to be vigilant and be safe and all these things, and I believe that you should be. I'm all for safety and whatever,
Definitely
but
stay safe out there, people.
yeah, oh, absolutely. I think you should be smart about things, and you should, I'm a I always tell people where I'm going. I don't go anywhere without telling, "Hey, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going."
But you
Like
you explore like haunted forests and shit. So yeah,
yeah.
that's a good call. Good call.
Yeah, I was calling my mom and I'm like, "All right, look, here's where we're going." So, yeah, so like I think that's smart and traveling with a friend and things and I definitely think you should be smart, but I think you should also try to not let yourself get into that hysterical place where you're not clear, you know,
Yeah, this is also true because there's
right?
danger. There's potential danger everywhere at any given time.
That's
So
true.
it's like, if you didn't hear the headline, would you be like this freaked out? It's like we don't even know that there's a pattern to anything here.
Right, right.
We didn't
Well,
talk
it's
about
what
it. I think we kind of focused on more of the other stuff, but um, you know, we don't really know all the details either. It's pretty fresh,
right,
and for some reason these are being just publicized a little bit more. But like we have a good deal of either accidental deaths or also unsolved homicides throughout any given year. So it's like what's
right,
I'm not sure what the difference is between this and you know the the status quo.
right, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's always, I mean, this is always happening, and it's actually it's crazy to think. Like, I know that when I think of um very particularly, there's something wicked unsettling about the Connecticut River Valley murders. Um, I'm not sure exactly what I mean, the method of death is actually very disturbing, and the crimes were quite brutal, so maybe that's why, but there's something very disturbing to think about a person. I think it's like to think about being stalked, I guess, or to think about somebody who does this and gets away with it so many times, maybe.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not entirely sure, but there is something extra scary about a serial killer because a serial killer is like, you have a lot of crimes like when very often a married person or a person with a partner, the partner is always looked at first, right? Like most of the people who are killed by someone they know or who's close to them, right?
sure.
But with a serial killer, it can be different. I remember years ago there was actually a series of rapes in Newport, Rhode Island, and I remember the question was, is this people known to the victims, or is this a stranger? Were they all strangers? And I was too young at the time to really understand all of that, but I do remember that happening, that discussion occurring. And I think the idea of a stranger committing a crime against you just randomly out of nowhere is actually very scary. Of course, domestic crimes are not, they are equally terrifying, but I think that element of, I don't know, there's a certain element with a serial killer that is, I read I'm going to close with this because this pissed me off too. In my research for, Connecticut River Valley back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, there was a woman who said something to the effect of there was like a meeting in town to discuss, strategies for. And again, I'm paraphrasing all of this because I don't have the article in front of me. And they were researching, or brainstorming ways to keep people safe and to do this and blah 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 blah. And there were a bunch of people there, and one of the women in the she was an official of some kind. I don't remember what. She said it's very sexy to think of a task force for a serial killer. And I'm like, sexy? Like, are we like, is it though? Is that the right word? Is that the word you want to use to describe this very real situation that's happening where women and women are turning up dead and we don't know who did it? And you're going to describe a task force as we think it's sexy? And that just kind of, I don't know, put some human nature in perspective for me. But yet here we are. You know what I mean? Look at us now. I think maybe there is, people in their heads sometimes, maybe they think subconsciously there's something sexy about this whole thing, which is fucking crazy.
Well, she said that about the task force, which
Well,
I
it's
think it
just
still comes off weird. People have an unhealthy obsession with serial killers in general, I think.
right. They do.
A lot of people do.
It's true. It's true. It's interesting when you look on Netflix. I haven't looked on Netflix in a while because I don't have it. But
Gosh, sorry.
yes, the last 5 years that I looked on Netflix, it's all about serial killers. There's always something about a fucking serial killer or somebody killing or something like to that effect. And I'm like, interesting. Like I note these things. And I'll be honest, like I don't, as far as the media is concerned, like I said earlier, I do not trust the media as a whole. I do not trust mainstream media almost at all. I mean, local, whatever, but even them, I've had experiences with media that um shady experiences, and it's like I, I I'm not a person who thinks there's an agenda in everything, but when media when media stirs up a frenzy, I start to wonder. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
I'm not with that shit at all. Like and I see that here's the thing. Like we've talked about this before with the hysteria of the Salem witch trials, how I think it's human nature. And this is actually what I'll close with, is that I think that there's human nature. Whenever something happens, you have your people who are like, oh my God, they go along with the hysteria without, like, they just get kind of swept along emotionally. And then you have your thinkers who are like, I'm gonna call them free thinkers because I can't think of another way to describe it right now. Who are like, oh, whoa, hold up, let's stop and look at this. Let me ask questions. Let me think independently and kind of be like, what's going on here? So, oh, well, who said what? Who did what? Where's this all coming from? Whatever. And they try to look at the bigger picture and actually come up with their own free thought about it. And I think here we are again. We see the same thing. I see this in the comments of a lot. Excuse me. I see this in the comments of a lot of these posts and news articles and etc. So we have our ones who are just swept away with the emotion, and then we have the free thinkers who are like, I will say there's a lot of different commentary from the not swept away crowd, but it's just, again, it's interesting. I think watching society is very interesting and what they do. you know.
I don't know.
Mhm.
Society is a little, people-y for me.
Yeah, right.
It's, it's much.
Yeah, no kidding.